Hello, Steve Coscia here with a valuable teaching tip. As instructors, we invest many hours in writing, research, class preparation for the benefit of our students. And what's the payoff? The payoff is often when students remember what they were taught. And the icing on the cake happens when a student personally conveys their appreciation after they've been hired and landed a good job. When I serve my mechanical clients, there's a scenario that plays out time and time again. It might happen in North Carolina or Texas or Oklahoma or California, but it's the same scenario. What happens is an employee remembers me from when I taught at their trade school. And this happened when I was serving quality refrigeration in Torrance, California. Javier Palominos remembered me from when I taught at El Camino Community College. William Johnson, an instructor buddy of mine, invited me to share soft skill insight there. And Javier was in the class. So hearing those words of appreciation from Javier years later, that was the icing on the cake. And that's why we do what we do. So when you're involved in those many hours of class preparation, when you're staying late after class to help students to understand, remember the payoff. Not every student will come back to say thanks, but those that do make it all worthwhile.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us once again on Did You Know, the ESCO HVAC show. So we are so honored to spend some time with the legend, Steve Coscia. How are you, sir?
Terrific. How are you doing, Clifton?
I'm doing great. This is such an important conversation for us to have. When I think back, like in my own career, I was a pretty good technician. And Ty, you and I both, like many educators in the industry, we start out as technicians. We become good technicians, and then a lot of times we become instructors. Now, when I was a technician, I could talk the talk with my fellow, colleagues because they look like me, they talk like me, they had a lot of life experiences like me. And so communicating was pretty easy. When I got into the classroom, it was a different story. When we walk into that classroom, we could have a multi-generational classroom, a multi-ethnicity classroom, a multi-gender classroom, and we may be introduced into an atmosphere where we don't know if we have anything to connect with those individuals. And it's a scary feeling. Not only is it scary, then we're tasked with not only being able to communicate with our classrooms, but teaching our classrooms how to communicate themselves. And there's kind of an art to that, wouldn't you say, Ty?
I would. I have been a fan of Steve for many, many years. Just an excellent person. And over the years, we've become friends, which is absolutely just amazing honor. He's one of my favorite humans. I mean, not just a great educator, but just a good human. I've been following him so long back when we had CDs. I've been a fan of him. Like back before he had his own book, when he was written in chapters, in other books. And then, of course, had to have his books. And I'm not a big book person. Like reading books is difficult for me, but this book was just so easy to follow. The spacing was good. It had real life stories to connect to. And I remember the first time when I first met Steve, and he had asked me, because you're going through and there's all these people wanting to, sell you stuff. And Steve just recognized me and just had a conversation with me. And he didn't try to sell me anything. He was just asking. Then he asked, hey, do you do soft skills in your classroom? I said, yes, I do. And he asked me how I did it. And I told him, he goes, excellent. I'm just glad to see you're teaching soft skills. And he never tried to. And so I went home and immediately ordered his book, of course, because I thought, man, that was the best sales ever. He didn't, push his leverage in it. And it just, it's amazing to see him all over the country and see all the different people using his methods, which are golden methods. And just to sit down and talk with him, he lights up a room. If you ever get to meet somebody, meet him, because when he talks to people, he doesn't just talk at them. He talks to them, and you can tell he asks them a question and waits for that response. He doesn't just talk about customer service and communication. He lives it. Just absolutely, I'm just one of his biggest fans. So glad that he's here today. Just super excited.
And welcome to the stage,
Perfect.
Mr. Coscia. All right.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you for showing all of that material there, Ty. And I remember the first time we met. I do remember. I think you were teaching in Texas back then.
Yep.
It was a long time ago. Wow.
Absolutely.
So interesting to hear Clifton speak about that transition from technician to teaching in a classroom, and that begs the question: is there a fear factor? And the answer is yes. Now I've taught in hundreds or thousands of classrooms, and I still get butterflies in my stomach before I have to teach, and I think that's a good thing, because it keeps me conscientious. And I will describe, as we go through some of this presentation, the level of mandatory preparation that is required to get there. So you were going to hear me give Clifton little instructions when I say forward, and he just did that. Perfect. So so there's a photo of me. This is in Smithfield, North Carolina, at Johnston Community College, one of my favorite places to teach. And Wayne Harden is the instructor there. And not too far from this college is the White Swan Barbecue. It's got the best fried chicken anywhere. And the best thing about traveling around to different trade schools and colleges is you get to learn where the good food is. And boy, that's a lot of fun. Yeah. So you know what that's like, Clifton.
Oh, boy, I do. Yeah, that's one of the first things you ask when you get somewhere. All right. Where's the best food? Who's got the best home cooking?
So this photo here is from Fort Myers, Florida. And so there I am with a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds. Great class. I remember this day like it was yesterday. And when I'm in the midst of 19 and 20-year-olds, one of the things that helps me as an instructor build greater rapport with the students is to tell a story about when I was their age. And it's interesting that they see you as someone who's accomplished. You do all this travel and all of that, but I was once a 19-year-old kid, and sometimes I wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. And revealing some of that to students helps us to build rapport. So you can forward, Clifton. So
brings up a great point, because just like that fear of going into the classroom and me thinking that I really didn't have anything that I could connect with my students on, that is the one thing that we all absolutely have, is, at least for those that are younger than us, is sharing that experience of when we were in that place that they currently are.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you see here is a job application form. I went for a job interview when I was 19 with a company called Malvise Construction Equipment. Mr. George Malvise was conducting the interview. I had completed my application form in the reception area. So this was in the early 1970s, many, many years ago. So on the application form, it asked me to write down a few reasons for why they should hire me. And I wrote the usual answers, Clifton, that I learned fast. And I also wrote down that I worked hard. And I wrote down that I got along well with others. And I thought, man, this is going to lock me in. And then during the interview, Mr. George Malvise, he has my job application form right in front of him. And then during the interview, he asks me a question. He asks, so tell me, why do you think you're so gregarious? And I was stuck in my tracks. I didn't know what to say because I didn't know what the word meant.
Right.
And when you're a cocky 19-year-old kid like I was, and you get stuck in a situation like this, you have a couple of choices. You can either admit you don't know what the word means, or you could try to fake your way through it. Well, I was that cocky 19-year-old kid that figured I could fake my way through it After all, this is a construction equipment company. So gregarious must have something to do with stamina and strength and endurance. And boy, did I get it wrong.
Wow.
And I didn't get the job. So that feeling of rejection is a feeling nobody likes.
No one.
So telling a story like this to a classroom of 19-year-olds gets them to understand that, hey, life has lots of setbacks. Life has lots of rejections. And we're all going to fail here at matter as much as what you do to recover. And again, in the early 1970s, we did not have computers or Google, but we did have index cards. We had index cards and we had a dictionary. So with the dictionary, I looked up the word the gregarious, and you can go forward. There you go. So when I looked up the word, I got the definition. I wrote it down. Just go backwards one.
Yep. Oh, sorry.
And stay on the dictionary slide. All right. So writing down the definition for gregarious, I had one word, but then I thought there's these other words I hear people using that I don't know. So while I had the dictionary open, I took out another index card. I wrote down that word and the definition. And then I did a third word, and then I did a fourth word. And before I knew it, I had this little stack of index cards. And I kept this stack of index cards in the back pocket. And every day, I would just look at the index cards. And whenever I had an opportunity to use one of those new words, I would do that.
Sure.
And without realizing it, I was learning about application, where you have the theory of a word's definition, but the application is when you integrate that word into a sentence. And with application comes knowledge. And at 19 and then 20 and then 21 years old, as I got a better vocabulary, what I started to recognize was as the vocabulary improved, so did the opportunities. So did my relationships. So did almost everything else in my life. But what did it start with, Clifton? It started with me and the recovery. So we're all going to fail. Everyone gets there. But what we do to recover is what matters. And this also brings up the topic of personal accountability. And that we are personally accountable for our future success. So this is a good slide to be on. So when I speak about teaching soft skills to instructors, and I do a fair amount of train the trainer for my clients.
Absolutely.
So my clients are some of the biggest manufacturing companies in the world. Daikin, Carrier, Bryant, big companies. And when I speak about this, one of the things I teach, and go forward here, Clifton, one of the things I teach is that when you start to convey messages to students without realizing it, you're getting better at it. That we master what we teach. It's the way that we practice. And I know that we never feel like we know enough about something. And what we need is someone to push us over the cliff. Just jump and grow wings on the way down. And the way you're doing it may not be the best way to do it, but you just learn something.
That's right.
And then you advance, right? We master what we teach. You got to get started.
Ty and I are pretty good at doing that for each other sometimes. We have a great relationship with that.
So here's the other thing that I have learned in time. No matter how much I think I know, over preparation is mandatory. So when I'm traveling, if I've got to do a full day with a client, I'm up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I am over preparing. I want to make sure I know every nuance of my subject matter, of what I'm doing it. I'm not going to wing it, because you never know what can happen in the midst of a session. So for instructors, make sure if you're going to cover a specific soft skills topic, you think about your own experiences. What stories might you be able to tell? Or how might you be able to convey the information? Just by doing that and getting prepared, making notes for yourself boy, that makes a huge difference. And even having props. So talk about props. What was this?
It actually was a prop.
It's
How
a
about that?
prop, right? It's
Right.
it's the index cards, and simple as
Sure.
that. It doesn't. You don't need to be complicated. Keep it simple for yourself, but use props. It helps to keep things interesting. So I'm also a big believer in that the practice that writing makes you a better speaker.
I agree.
If you write, you will speak better. Why is that? Oh, that's because when you have to write, you have to construct an outline. You got to think about the sentence structure, and then you got to revise the sentence, and then you got to go from a 12-word sentence and write with greater economy, get it down to a 7-word sentence, and before you know it, you've got a nice, eloquent, concise message. But the key is write what you know. Don't wing it. What do you got there, Ty? What are you holding up?
I got note cards.
Yeah.
I know.
I listen to you. I've been carrying note cards ever since.
I know.
That's wonderful.
You are the man. You are the man. So write what if you write what you know, a couple of things are going to happen. When you write what you know, you are telling the truth because it's what you know.
Right.
And here's the thing I have learned that I'm sure you two guys have learned also is that your students can always tell when you're not telling the truth. When we tell the truth, it just sounds better. It just sounds more natural. So if you know it, write about it. If you don't know it, first research it,
Right.
learn it, know it, and then write about it.
Yeah.
But honesty just has a way of making us a lot more sincere. People like us more. It's just an easier thing to do. So let me just use another application here.
Yes.
That I use with my clients. So some of my clients have people on the telephones, and a contractor may call up and ask about an invoice or a work order. And if the person on the phone doesn't write down the key details about the phone call, and then starts to speak afterwards, in the absence of the key details, they are speaking with apprehension and uncertainty. Why? Because it's not written down. When you write things down and then you can see it on a piece of paper and you convey the information, you speak with greater authority and greater certainty that becomes audible. So, writing just impacts the way we speak. And it doesn't have to be a lot of writing. I mean, I've written books and articles, but I assure you, the more you write, the better you're going to speak. It just works. Forward. One more, please.
Absolutely. And I know you all have to be enjoying this as much as I am. We want you to let us know in the chat where you're joining from. Tell us if you have any concerns, any questions along the way that you need some help with, and we'll see if we can get some pointers out there, because all of us as educators, even as technicians, we are constantly learning how to communicate with those around us. These are all important lessons that can become life lessons. I'm like Ty. I don't have my cards here, but my notepads have been growing so extensively in this last year because I'm continuing to listen to my mentors that if I need to talk about something, I should write it down first so that I have a chance to double check it. And my stacks are just growing. I hate to throw them away because they're my own resources. Someone will say, remember when you were talking about this on that show? And I'm like, hold on, let me backtrack. That should have been about 15, 20, 25 pages back. Let me go find that real quick for you.
And while you were saying that, Clifton, Ty went over and reached all of his notes, and he had a whole volume there. So while we're here speaking, I can see on the computer screen that one of the best looking guys in our industry, Don Gillis, is on this session with us.
Hey, Don.
So he's paying attention. Yeah. Hey, Don. And a pretty lady named Perla Brannaman is also on here. Wow. So that's pretty neat. What do you know?
Yeah. I'm glad you guys
cool.
can see that. My screen is acting funny today. I can't see any of the chat. So Ty and Steve, you see any comments in there you'd like to mention? Please bring those up because my side is really looking odd today.
And that's my wife Perla, and she is a huge fan of Steve. Also, she we always love hanging out with Steve. But it's our anniversary today.
Happy anniversary!
So awesome to have her all these years. So.
Very good. Very good. All right. So let me get to signature stories.
Okay.
A signature story is a story that is as unique as your signature. Here's what that means. A signature story is a story only you can tell.
Okay.
A story only you can tell that's unique. It happened to you. Therefore, if it happened to you, you tell that story with all of the candor and honesty and enthusiasm that the students can hear. And you'll hear me mention signature stories later on also, but they are the most powerful stories. So that story about me being a 19-year-old and not knowing the definition of the word gregarious is a story only I can tell. It happened to me.
I might have to borrow it.
Every instructor has an inventory of signature stories. I know they do.
Yeah.
And they tell their stories semester after semester, and they work. And you want to be able to leverage your signature stories and use opportunities to develop even more of them. Those are key things to do. Okay, and then the last one on that slide, after signature stories, is the power of interactive engagement. So this is always a risk, but you have to trust it. You got to trust that students are going to learn from each other. That's the trust factor. And, sometimes I know what it's like to be a control freak because I like to have control over things, but there is a time to relinquish control of the classroom and create an exercise and let people talk. Those are key things to do. And when we do that, and the more we do it, the less fear we have. It's less of a risk, and you'll see how easily it is to engage with students. So go forward one, please, Clifton. So something I learned many, many years ago by a mentor was, if you want them to hear it, you talk. Okay, forward. But if you want them to learn it, they talk.
Boy, that's powerful.
And this is the value of interactivity in the classroom. Getting people to work together, getting people to talk to each other, having an engagement exercise. Boy, those things really do work well. So if you go forward one, please. So my message to instructors when it comes to teaching soft skills is to trust this. I know it's a little bit of a fear factor. There's a risk involved, but it works. And if it doesn't work well the first time you do it, that means there's room for improvement. Get better at it. And the better you get at it, the more students are going to learn. They learn more when they speak to each other. And those are key things to do. So on this one here, we're going to do a lot of information here in the classroom. So some of the things I would advise, go forward one, tell stories. So like I'm doing here, I started with the story when I was 19. We now know what a signature story is. Forward one, delegate authority of the classroom. If you're delegating authority, you're allowing the students to talk. You're allowing them to convey an experience. And I'll get into this a little more later when we speak about student worksheets. It's okay to do a pair share. So a pair share is what you do in a classroom when you just covered a point and now you say, okay, talk to the person next to you for 30 seconds, come up with 2 applications for what we just learned. And they do a pair share. They talk to each other. And then you pick on pairs. And it's so useful in the classroom.
Boy,
Advanced
that's a really good one.
Props. So we saw the props already, right? The index cards, props work. But props could be spare parts. Props could be tools. Props could be almost
styrofoam. We love props around here, Steve.
Yeah, so props work. Use the props. Those are key things to do. Advanced one. Flip charts.
Yes.
So this may not be everyone's comfort zone, but boy, is it mine. A gentleman named Alan Weiss from Rhode Island taught me about using flip charts. And man, does it make a difference in the classroom. Markers, flip charts, it doesn't have to be complicated. And you'll see when I show you a few examples, the simplicity of it. So advanced one, and then acrostics. So flip charts and acrostics, they can go together. So what's an acrostic? An acrostic is a word that goes from top to bottom instead of from left to right. So top to bottom is an acrostic. So advance one, and then advance another one. There you go. So there's an acrostic of the word teamwork on a flip chart.
Okay.
So stay here,
All right.
Clifton. So I'm not sure if anyone knows out there, but in commercial work and residential work, teamwork is like the hottest topic right now.
Yes.
Every contractor is trying to build an internal culture of great teamwork. So I have been developing lots of new curriculum about culture, about teamwork. And boy, it's such a hot thing. Everyone wants to talk about it. There's pluses, there's minuses, and man, does it get cool. Gets very robust. And, you know, some of the simple things about teamwork is that everyone on a team should not be looking for the pat on the back when they do something right. I mean, we all do things right all day long. And Ken Blanchard in the 1 Minute Manager always said, you know, catch people doing things right. And we like to get on the pat on the back, but sometimes it ain't going to happen. You just got to keep going. Right. And in the world of work is whenever we feel like we're part of a winning team, even without the pats on the back, we get that internal message that says, man, nobody does this better than us. Look at us. We are the winning team. And when one individual begins to feel that, that becomes contagious. So when I'm doing this out in a classroom, I will show videos about synergy and about being effective, and what people get to see it in a video. It's like real powerful. So now you can advance one, Clifton, where we will actually see, go ahead. There is an actual teamwork in which students have written an exercise. So you see the word teamwork, TEAMWORK, from top to bottom. And then the students have to go through my textbook and find words they can write across the letters of the letters in teamwork. Fantastic. And they sit there, they go through, well, what word's got a T in it? And someone goes, oh, attitude. Attitude's got 2 T's. All right, write that down. And then someone goes, well, what's got an E? And they start to do it. And you can see all the light bulbs going off.
Yes.
They go into the textbook, they're completing the acrostic. Now, if you want to really have fun, you set a stopwatch. And you tell if you have like 4 or 5 students on one flip chart, and you got 4 flip charts, you say, you guys have got 120 seconds starting now. Oh. And they're all going to the textbook, they're looking for words, looking to complete it. But what's happening here? What's happening here is they're thinking about what comprises a winning team. And they're thinking about the words, they're thinking about the definitions, they're thinking about the application. And you as the instructor are orchestrating all of this. What have you done? You've relinquished control, you've delegated, and they're doing it. So on the next one, you see the word courtesy, COURTESY, going down, and the students have the markers, and what are they doing? They're writing down words they see in the textbook. Concise. So you may ask yourself, well, what does the word concise have to do with courtesy? Aha. Well, being concise means not editorializing. So that brings up the question, well, what does editorializing mean? Editorializing means knowing how to say less or knowing how to keep your mouth shut, being concise. So how many times has a technician been curious about something and wants to ask a question, but he hears that little guy on his shoulder whispering in his ear, and the little guy is saying, don't say it. Don't ask it. Don't do it. Don't do it. But what does he do? He blurts it out anyway. And what happens? He opens up a maelstrom because he should have kept his mouth shut. And so their instructors, when they're teaching soft skills, have to teach the students to listen to that little guy on your shoulder. when that guy says, don't ask it. Don't say it. Listen to the little guy. If you're not sure if you should say it, just don't say it. That's a key thing to do. And those things, they really add up to something big. So what I've just described here is interactivity in the classroom. What are they doing? They're talking to each other. They're completing an exercise. It takes them 2 minutes, but they're learning so much about words, about application, about these valuable concepts. All right, now you may go forward again.
I don't know. I think I could stay on this one all day. I'm sitting here thinking, what heat pump? Here, grab this book. Let's think of some things to heat pump. All right, who's got electrical? Who's got electrification? I love that idea.
Okay, so what's the next one? Go forward. There you go. Rule of 10. Okay, the rule of 10, something I learned by a mentor, was about every 10 minutes, change up what you're doing. Don't sit there and lecture for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So about every 10 minutes, grab a textbook, hand it to a student, say, read page 34. And he'll come up and he'll read it, or use a prop, or show a video, or some audio, but do something different about every 10 minutes. And that's more of a public speaking tactic than a teaching tactic. But when you're teaching soft skills, being an instructor, you want to keep the classroom lively. And changing things up every 10 minutes is a real key thing to do. Those things work. Okay, Forward one more time.
I just had an instructor I was talking to about the same context last week. We were talking about death by PowerPoint. He's like, I've got to get through these 60 slides, but I lose everyone 15 and 20 minutes in. And that's the conversation. I was like, you still have to get through them, but you don't have to get through them all consecutively. You can take breaks and do something different in between related to the PowerPoints, and you'll still end up getting in, through all your PowerPoints, but we've got to break them up a little bit, or you're going to have some sleepers before the day's over.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So the word video just came up. Use video. I have a lot of little video that I created and that I use. And boy, it's very effective when you want to get complex ideas across to the students. Videos work. Some of the best videos I've seen are Ty's videos. I mean, when Ty is showing his videos, and he's so funny about it, but he's so informative about it. They're just great. And Ty, they don't have to be long, right? 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you can get boatloads across.
I got to be honest. I've watched the evacuation of the 55-gallon drum probably 40 times. Honestly, I don't tell him that enough.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so let's. So here's some photographs. We can use photos. So there's a 2-car driveway with 1 car, and this family is has an air conditioner that's not working. It's July. It's real hot. They call the local air conditioning company. The company's van arrives, and he's been taught not to park in customers' driveways. But he sees the open spot, right? So he parks his van there, and the husband, who's been out running errands, comes back, sees the van in the driveway. Not a big deal, right? So, but then the husband looks at the driveway, and the husband sees there's fluid leaking out of the bottom of the van. Now, we know it's condensation from the van's air conditioner, but the husband is not mechanical.
Right.
So you show this video, and now you ask your students, what does he think it is?
Right.
And one student says, oh, it's engine oil, or it's antifreeze, or transmission fluid, and you get these answers, and they're talking. So go forward once. And you direct all of their eyesight on that. Very simple videos. Here's a very simple photograph that conveys a message, and you're teaching your students to follow standard operating procedure. If you've been taught not to park in the driveway, don't park in the driveway. Just do it. And that's a real case scenario. So one more. So here's a messy van dashboard. I never have to go too far to find these. They're all over the country. So if I'm driving around the country, I pull into a strip mall, there's somebody's van looking like that. And this brings up the whole soft skills discipline of being organized.
Yeah.
There is no substitute for good organization, because organization means you're being more efficient and more effective. And time is money when you're out in the field. If the shop calls and the parts manager wants to know about a specific finish or a diameter on a part, and you can't find the paperwork, and now you're going through your messy dashboard, everybody loses. You're wasting time, you're wasting money, not a good thing. Being organized is a key soft skills discipline. And that's in my textbook also. So go forward one. Here is the stories I can tell. So these are signature stories that I can tell. I have a list. And just go forward once.
Okay.
And these are titles that are cryptic, they're subjective, but they're immediately recognizable to me. They're my stories. And I think every instructor should have a list of their signature stories. Why? Because sometimes we forget. Have a list. Whenever I go to work with a client, I go to teach, I always have my list of signature stories, because you never know what question you're going to get from a student. They may ask a question that says, oh, this is a perfect time for that story. And then you tell the story. And it's great to have the list. You want to have the list of signature stories. It's a key thing to have, a good discipline.
Well, and I think about that from the classroom, right? Hey, today's storytelling. Which story do you all want to hear? Because it will be relevant to your career in the industry. I never thought about that, but that's a wonderful plan to have in the classroom.
It is. It is.
I want to know about that number 2 someday. That didn't come from Indianapolis, did it?
Actually, it's from Aaron York. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aaron York. Do you know Aaron York? Yeah. Yeah. He told me that story. I can tell you the origin of every story.
That's great.
All right. So now I want to go through some of these slides that actually have, this is subject matter you will see in my curriculum PowerPoint or in the curriculum textbook. This is a message about first impressions, about greetings, about wearing the shoe covers. It just demonstrates how much customers appreciate that. They really appreciate when you do that. So go forward one. And what this also says is that the first impression can also be the customer's final decision.
You bet.
Their decision about whether or not they want to work with you is often based on a first impression. Go forward again. And this first impression even goes deeper, because people don't gather data to make a decision. They often gather it to justify their decision. Meaning, if they liked you during the first impression, they will justify to themselves why they should hire you. It's just that simple. So instructors should be teaching their students about the soft skill of making sure they invest in that first impression. The smile, you tuck in your shirt, good personal hygiene, all of those simple things that really work. Go forward again.
I went into one classroom that actually had a complete locker of clothes for the students to try on in preparation for interviews. And some of the clothes were not the neatest looking clothes. And so it was an opportunity for everyone to see dress apparel from different perspectives. I thought that was just a fantastic thing to teach in the classroom.
That is good. It is good. So just go forward 2 more times. Let me see. Yeah, there you go. So this next sentence here, it's better to disappoint a customer than to satisfy a customer with a lie. Let's stay there for just a minute. This sentence is throughout my textbook. And this is all about integrity. It's about honesty. And the way that instructors should teach this in the classroom is you definitely have to tell the truth. So how does that happen? Well, you're inside a customer's house, and the part you need is the part you just ran out of in your truck or in your van. You don't have it. And so you could tell the truth, and you would say something like, I don't have the part. And that would be the truth, and you're disappointing the customer. That's better than telling a lie. But here's what I teach students to do. I teach students to use a little finesse. So the way that I introduce this, I ask the students, what does the word finesse mean? And usually they don't know. And I say, finesse means smooth. And they go, oh, yeah, smooth. I know what smooth is. Yeah, you got to be smooth. So if you don't have the part, rather than say, I don't have the part, you say, here's what I'm going to do. Let me see how fast I can get that part here for you. Now, that's so much more constructive. That is so much more helpful than saying, I don't have the part. So when we are using a little finesse, what are we doing? We are thinking and we are remaining calm. When you get upset, when you get anxious, it's harder to think. Trust yourself. So instructors, when they're teaching soft skills, should teach their students to trust themselves. Remain calm. Tell the truth. Use a little finesse. This is a key concept, and it goes a long way just towards being the best that we can be. You can go forward again. How customers see things. So go forward once. So here is an organizational chart with the owner at the top, managers in the middle, customer service people down towards the bottom. Say, now go forward again, and you'll see a triangle. So this is all in the PowerPoint in our soft skills curriculum. So now go forward 2 more times, Ty. This is how we see our company with the owner at the top. Go forward again, and with the service personnel down towards the bottom. Technicians often see themselves at the bottom of the organizational chart. So now go forward 3 times. So this is how customers see things. Now, who is the apex of the triangle?
Right.
Now it's the technician. The technician becomes the brand. Every word, every mannerism that technician speaks about, he's speaking for the whole company. So go forward 1 more time, and it focuses in on that apex. So that's also in our. Go forward again. So in the textbook, I write a lot of stories. One of the stories is about the word editorializing. It's a word I used previously. It means not talking too much. So editorializing is what happens when someone should not say something, but they do anyway. So go forward twice. So when it comes to talking, we should maximize humility, empathy, and discretion. Maximize that. If you're demonstrating humility, empathy, and discretion means being discreet, being careful about what you're going to say next. If you're doing that, you'll usually speak less. We should minimize conceit, self-interest, and showiness. Whenever you're conceited, you're trying to show off, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Humility is such a better skill. It works better. So in the textbook, I tell a story about a master technician named Joe, and so Joe has a helper. The helper's name is Zach, and so Zach goes out in the field with Joe. And while they're out in the field, Zach is just carrying the tools. He's schlepping, right? So by accident, Zach bumps the toolbox into the furniture, and thankfully it didn't do any damage or anything. But Joe, when he goes back to the office, he goes into the office and he tells all the office people, you know what that kid did today? That kid bumped the toolbox into the furniture. And the service manager hears Joe say that. So go forward 1. And now the service manager says, how would you like it if I went out there and told about all the mistakes you made? And Joe realizes, wow, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. And it's a lesson about being careful about what we're going to say next and not editorializing. So to really make this effective in the classroom, we've published student worksheets. You see it on the PowerPoint. Here it is in this booklet. So if you advance 1, you will see that it's a PDF file. You download it. You can make all the copies you want. Advance again. Okay, so there it is in the textbook. There's the picture of the service manager. There's Joe. Pages 34 and 35 in the textbook. So you can hit forward twice. And there's the part about teamwork and editorializing. How to be a good team member. How to not editorialize. How to say less. All right. So now go forward 1. And there is a student worksheet right from the booklet. Student worksheet. Now, this is how an instructor can make sure students are really learning from the textbook. What do they have to do? They got to read it, and then they just have to answer real simple questions.
Right, very basic.
Like, yeah, real simple questions. So go forward one. And again, there you go. So there's a completed student worksheet, right? So Fernando Gonzalez did this. And so you can now go forward a few times. And
Thank you, Fernando.
There's the worksheet. Fernando Rodriguez. Now go forward again. There's his name. And again, and again, and again. And there are all of his answers. And they're so simple. But all he had to do was read what was in the textbook. So if we instructors want to make sure that students are experiencing content retention, what do? You have a worksheet. So hit forward a few more times. And you can see that everything on this worksheet is simple, real simple. Hit forward again. So this is, again, it's derived from pages 38 and 39 from the textbook. But Rodrigo, he blew me away on this one. He blew me away because when I travel around the country, the instructors show me the student worksheets.
Right.
And I saw this one and I said, man, this guy's elevator goes all the way to the top. Look at this guy. So go forward one. And what did he do? The icing on the cake. What did he write down? He wrote down feel, felt, and found. And go forward again. From page 64. It wasn't even in the lesson.
It wasn't even on this particular one.
It wasn't even in the lesson. But he read the textbook.
Wow.
Now, Ty and Clifton, you know what it's like when a student gets it.
Yeah.
Right? It's such a great
Magic.
feeling.
Oh.
It's like there's nothing better. And instructors should use the student worksheets in the classroom. It guarantees and ensures content retention so that students are really getting it, they're understanding it, and they have all the information. And I see the country from coast to coast when I'm traveling around. So my textbook is taught in anywhere between 250 to 300 colleges, but not everyone has the worksheets yet. So get the worksheets and use them. Those are key things to do.
I'm sitting here looking at this and I'm going, because I've got a project of my own that I've been working on for a while. And I'm sitting here thinking, this is amazing retention. And it's something that you can share even with instructors. You know, many of us instructors, when we get into a program, there's other instructors. The biggest thing we're asking is, hey, what are you doing in this class? How are you presenting this class? How are you testing the students in the class? And so not just for something to work with the students, but to be able to converse with other instructors on the same topic. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The instructors love this because you can either use it as homework or use it in the classroom. There's so much flexibility.
Right.
So there are numerous anecdotes in the textbook, and there is a worksheet for every anecdote that you can write on. So
very cool.
Again, you get a lifetime license for less than $100. Print hundreds of these things for your students. You can't beat it. All right. So something else from the textbook is, now this is about remaining calm. So we all know what it's like when you get that first cold day, right? And you want to let your students know that when it gets cold, customers might become a little impatient. Yeah. And this my house is cold, my kids are freezing, and I am furious. And when situations like this happen again, what do? You trust yourself. And this all comes down to self-control. So I can do a separate seminar just on self-control because there's so many levels to it. But remaining calm during situations is such a key thing. So you can go ahead and advance one. This can result in stress. And the way to interrupt the stress is remaining calm. And I'm not going to get into it all here because it's that's
a whole other show right there.
Yeah, it's a whole nother seminar. All right, advance again. All right. So capturing data. Let's stay here for just a minute.
Sure.
So when I drive around the country, what I hear from coast to coast, from any size company, whether it's 500 employees or 5 employees, every company has the same issue. And the issue is we didn't capture all the information during that service repair or during that maintenance call. We didn't capture it all. So how does this sound? So this is another signature story where a company owner right here in Pennsylvania had a work order, and he showed me the work order where one of his technicians was at someone's house to do maintenance, just doing maintenance on a furnace. While the technician was there, it was an older furnace, and based on what he was seeing, today would have been a good day to replace the evaporator coil. And he tells the customer, he says, listen, I'm only here for maintenance, but the system is old. While I'm here, today's a good day to do this, to get this done. Customer says, I don't have a budget. Sorry, don't do it. So the technician finishes the maintenance and then he leaves. On the work order about the evaporator coil. And then everyone knows it happens 2 days later. The evaporator coil blows, right? The evaporator coil blows, the customer calls, and what's the first words out of the customer's mouth? Your technician was just here, and now my system is broken. Yeah. And the service manager gets the work order, he looks at it, and he says, there's nothing here about the evaporator coil. He calls up that technician and says, hey, when you were on Cedar Drive the other day, what was that system like? And he goes, yeah, that was an older furnace. The evaporator coil was old. He said, why didn't you put that into your notes? So whenever customers decline a recommendation, now you can advance one. Capture the key points about each service call. Advance again. When customers decline a service, note that the customer declined your recommendation. Write down the date and the time. Absolutely. Be specific. Because in 2 days, if that customer calls and says, hey, my system is broken and your technician was just here, the service manager looks at the call, he'll see it. And he can say to the customer, well, we did recommend the evaporator coil replacement. So one more advance here. Mm-hmm. A few seconds of data capture will save hours of time and hundreds of dollars later, just capturing good details. And again, not to be redundant, but I hear this story everywhere from coast to coast. So instructors, when they're teaching soft skills, you want to make your students hypersensitive to capturing all of the details. Key things to do. Advance again, please. Mm-hmm. So this is a flow chart. It's in the textbook, and you can advance 3 times here. So 3 advancements, three key things. Now this flow chart we also make available as a poster. So lots of the colleges out there have this flow chart on the wall in the classroom. We make the posters available. The posters are available on ESCO's website. So any of the instructors on this call, go to the ESCO website. They have the poster. They can get the order out for you. Absolutely. And I see these all over the country. And what you see here is that venting can be therapeutic, right? Venting is therapeutic when you ask questions. And Clifton is now sharing some of the resources that are online. Absolutely. A lot of my soft skill courses are there. Lots of other resources are there.
Lots of product from Coscia Communications there. So I'll leave that over the side. You can actually scan that later. We've also got e-learning courses on the HVACR Learning Network. So I'll keep that available too if you want to follow up with some of these lessons that can be done online for yourself as well as for the classroom.
Let me just say one thing about the HVACR Learning Network. That is the best deal in town. The new subscription model that ESCO has implemented, holy cow, man! For like $20-something, it's like unbelievable what you get.
We're getting ready to do a $12.99 ESCO Basic package as well.
Holy cow!
You'll be hearing about that here in the very near future.
Best deal in town. ESCO hit it right on the mark.
Well,
that
we
one.
thank you. We
Yeah.
try. It's hard to compete sometimes with companies that are solely in the app business, and we're so widespread trying to give curriculum of all natures to educators and to students, contractors. But we do our best. Absolutely. So there's a lot of information on that. You want to check that out when you get a
Oh, there is.
chance.
There is. All right. So I just want to talk about people
Yeah.
during the remainder of this. So
Oh, we
if
love
you
talking about
advance,
people. Sounds
yeah.
great.
So advance one, and I'm going to point out some of the things I experienced when I'm out in the field. So
Okay.
there is Jimmy Fairley from San Jacinto Community College. Jimmy, I
Hey,
mean,
Jimmy.
every instructor that I know is like the best. These are like the best of the best.
No.
They're so good at what they do. Jimmy Fairley puts together such a good program. He's so good. So advance again. Gary Harrison at Remington College in Louisiana. Gary is dynamite. I've known him for years. I was teaching in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to a bunch of contractors, and out of nowhere, Gary comes in. He walks in. He says, "Hey, I'm teaching at Remington, a few blocks away." So after the seminar, I go to Remington. It's like a reunion, right? It's like unbelievable. It's so good. Advance again. Jimmy Hawley and Pat Enoch from Tulsa Tech. These two guys have done more for the future workforce in the Tulsa region than anyone I can think of. They are like fathers. They're like dads, what they've done. And then Don Crawshaw at Salt Lake Community College. Don developed a whole program. It's dynamite. This guy's knowledge goes all the way to the top. Unbelievable. And advance again. Jeff Underwood at Guilford Community College in Greensboro. Boy, Jeff is good. He's has put together such a good program there. And then Wayne Harden at Johnston Community College, another good classroom innovator. Real good. So those are some of the people I get to meet. Again, they are the best of the best. I'm sorry I can't put them all up there, but boy, are they good. Okay, so here quickly, in the textbook, there's a crossword puzzle. The instructor gets a legend for the crossword puzzle. More than the legend, we tell you what page number in the book each crossword word can be found in. So when a student needs help, it's part of the instructor's guide. So here is the instructor's guide. So the instructor's guide has got videos and the exams and all the legends are in there. If you advance one.
Oh, wait a second. Got my pointer on the wrong screen. There we go.
That's okay. So here's the exam. It's a 40-question multiple choice exam. And just like the crossword puzzle, every question has a page number reference. So if a student's got a question about where can I find this in the textbook, you as the instructor can go ahead and tell them what page number it's on.
Well, Steve, this isn't in this. I've read it for sure. It's not in here. Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's there.
It's right here.
It's there. Yep. And the key thing is making soft skills instruction fast, easy, and effective. So now who you see on there is Deshae Peters. This kid is he's so good. So this is Deshae when he just got out of Tulsa Tech, Tulsa, Oklahoma. He was about 20. So got a job locally. And they enrolled him in the Skills USA competition on the topic of customer service. Now, why was that? Because he not only read my book, he devoured my book. He knew my book inside and out. So he goes into the customer service competition for the state of Oklahoma, and he wins first place for the state of Oklahoma. He knew customer service inside and out. This kid is so good. So we keep in touch. So if you can advance a couple of times, there he is, Deshae Peters, first place. So advance again. There's Jimmy Hawley and Deshae, and there's Deshae holding my book. Now stay here for just a bit.
Okay.
So this is Deshae, not too long after he graduated from Tulsa Tech. He was about 20. We keep in touch, and I was in Tulsa earlier this year. So I taught a class there. I asked Jimmy, how's Deshae doing? He goes, he's working commercial now. He's with Climate Pros. I said, holy cow, what's his number?
Right.
So he gives me his number. I call him up. I said, what are you doing tonight? He says, nothing. I said, let's go out to the White River Fish Market. Now, in Tulsa, the best restaurant is the White River Fish Market. So we meet there. Now you can advance one. There he is doing residential work. Advance one again.
Nope.
And there he is earlier this year. So now he's in his mid-20s and he is rocking it. I don't have enough time to tell you about the dinner, but he was cracking me up. Holy cow. This kid's elevator goes all the way to the top. He's so good. But this is just one example, Clifton. I know these students all over the country. I teach the classes. I meet them. We instructors know what it's like. You meet them, you talk to them, you have that relationship. And after all these years, boy, they are so special. So I've consumed more than an hour already. I've been talking.
Oh, this is fantastic stuff. I'm usually in here talking and yakking. I'm just absorbing.
All right, so let me just stop. Maybe someone has a question or a remark. I hope this was helpful.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's all about how do we deliver those skills? It's one thing to be able to teach students the technical skills that we've gotten to know very well, but how do you teach them to communicate? And it is okay to communicate. And sometimes we struggle with that. And this is about being able to take our program to that next level. We get that question all the time, don't we? How do I make my program better? Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes it is about bringing in new equipment, but sometimes it's about focusing on that student that is going to become a member of the community, a member of society. And we have a very important role helping them become better communicators through soft skills.
Absolutely. So everything I've shared with you outside of the stories, everything else is in the curriculum. All those slides and all the worksheets, it's all there. Much of it is on ESCO's website. Some of it's on my website. So my website is rolling across the screen. The textbooks and the videos and the posters are on ESCO's website there. So, already questions coming up, Clifton?
I can't see any. Ty, have you got any? Or Ty, you have anything that you want to hop in and discuss while we have the opportunity?
Well, just roll through, so I'm just surprised that I didn't lose internet or power.
I know. I apologize. The internet is not always the funnest thing for all of us on a live show, but we're so glad everyone is still hanging in here with us. Steve, so we've got Coscia.com. We want to send people there. We want to send them over to escogroup.org. Check out the bookstore. Check out the HVACR Learning Network. Download the new mobile app that is available to access your courses mobilely now through your digital devices. I think I hear some thunder.
That may be
might be coming through in yours. That's all right. Anyone out there have any questions? Any topics that they'd like to discuss with Steve before we hop out of here?
And my phone number is on the website. If anyone wants to call, feel free to do that.
All right. I do want to thank everybody for the anniversary wishes that I posted on there, but it is also Renee and Dan's anniversary here at ESCO, and Howard and Susan's ESCO anniversary. So it's we got 3 different ESCO anniversaries going on today. So it's definitely a day to celebrate.
Everyone. All right, Mr. Coscia, we're so grateful to have you here with us. I look forward to more conversations. Steve and I just did a podcast. I encourage you to go over to Did You Know, the ESCO HVAC podcast, and take a listen. Give you some really good information as you're cruising in between jobs or on your way to work. Lots of great resources out there. And make sure to get the customer service handbook as well that Ty has right there handy.
Hey, great seeing you again, Ty. Always good seeing you, Clifton. Yeah, very good. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for inviting me.
Fun. Well, thank you, sir. And we will see you all again next week on Did You Know, the ESCO HVAC show. Bye, everybody.